massive welcome to Andrew.
So, good evening, everyone. And tonight is about resilience in business, so I'm curious. What is resilience for you? Why is it important? And what do you want to get out of tonight? Anything you want to say? Go ahead.
Resilience for me is like bounce back ability.
Okay. Bounce back ability?
Yeah, it's protecting yourself from not crashing so much that, or burning out so much
Okay.
that it takes you a long time to get back.
Not burning out. Okay. And what do you want to get from tonight? I mean, just shout it out. I mean, we're not in school.
I want to hear your shaman wisdom.
Yeah.
Gideon?
Strategies and experience.
Strategies and experience?
Tips and tools.
Okay,
on
tips
how
and
to
tools.
Be more resilient.
Examples?
Examples? Okay, great. So we're going to start with not resilience. How many of you have ever thought about how you're going to die? Yeah. Well, I want it to be like Georgia O'Keeffe or Pablo Picasso. Many years from now, in my bed, after having lived a long, healthy, productive, creative life. Who else wants that? And who just wants to make it to the weekend? You laugh, but that's actually a sign. That's a signal that things might not be as great as they could be. Because we want that. Resilience is one of the things that's going to get us to that kind of a life. But that's not what's happening. A quarter of us are dying of heart attacks and strokes. Almost as many die from cancer. Then it's liver disease, lung disease, diabetes, and increasingly for women, dementia. So that's how we're dying. How are we living? In a time when we've never been more connected, 39% of people report being profoundly alone, having no one to talk to on a daily basis. Here in the UK, professionals and executives experience levels of stress, anxiety, and depression, burnout and beyond, at almost twice that of the normal work population. It's about 3.5 times if you're an attorney. So how many of you know someone like that, or have had a friend or a family member die early after illness or disease? I mean, I know I have. So that's the bad news. That's why we need resilience. The good news, paradoxically, is that we don't need resilience because we have it. It's baked in. We're born with it. You're here because your ancestors survived. You know, for tens of thousands of generations, making that long trip out of Africa to cover the entire planet. Every generation faced incredible odds, struggles, dangers, and threats. So every generation that made it through gave you an inheritance of genetic wisdom, cultural wisdom, and structures. So you're born with a set of innate emotional and physical needs, the instincts and the capacities to meet those needs. And then, if you're lucky, you're born into a family and a culture that gives you the support, the nourishment, the education to put that all together. So resilience is really about, this is who we are. We've evolved to thrive, to grow, to survive. So what are those statistics about? Why aren't we? It's what I call the evolutionary gap between the Stone Age brain and nervous system over here and the space age world over there. And the contrast or the tension between the two, the mismatch, is ripping us apart. So do you know that there's only 3 ways your life can go off the rails? When there comes a time in your psychotherapy training when you're introduced to the DSM-3R, actually with 3R in my day, it's now the 5th edition, and it's the Bible of diagnoses. And our tutor came in and said, you know, if you look at the symptoms, the problems, the pains, the stuff that people come through the door with, it's like the leaves of a tree. Infinite. That's why the book is so thick. But if you go down to the trunk, there's only 3 roots. Your needs aren't being met. Your capacities have been damaged through trauma or accident. You're missing skills and information. So no matter what you're going through in life, it's one of those 3 things. So that's the big picture. What about day to day, moment to moment? How do we stay resilient in the moment? It's quite simple. You're either above the line or you're below the line. And what I mean by that is, have you ever been in a conversation or a situation where it went tits up, pear-shaped, shit hit the fan? And there's usually a pattern to that where things are going along. You might be uncomfortable, but nothing's too bad. And then the stress sort of ramps up, and you hit some sort of a threshold, and it flips over. What's going on there is above the line is when you're in your social circuit, the most recent circuit in our neurochemistry or our development around social beings. And this is the system that allows us to be social. It's the heart of our emotional intelligence. So when that's online, you're open, you're able to sort of sort things out. But if threat comes in, the social circuit starts to get tuned down, and the fear and alert circuit comes in, and then when it gets tripped, you go into fight or flight. Ready to do that, or running away, physically or verbally. If you can't do that, you drop into the reptilian freeze response. And that's where the most common place where you see that is actually people can really beat themselves up in an assault or like a rape type situation where they go, I didn't protect myself, I didn't react, I didn't run away. You can't when you're frozen. So would you like to learn how to stay above the line? Okay, so the first thing is awareness. How are you doing? So go ahead and just close your eyes and take a nice breath in and out and scan your body. Just notice what's going on in your head, what's in your throat, your shoulders, your neck, your chest, your belly. What sort of sensation is there? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is chilled out, 10 is freaked out, where are you? What's your number? And is that number above the line or below the line? And then the second step is what I call cats and dogs. So go ahead and take a big yawn. Even if you have to fake it. Neck roll, slow neck roll in one direction, slow neck roll in the other direction. Stretch. And now check your number. Go ahead and open your eyes. So whose number went up?
Up is good, right?
No.
Up is bad.
I mean, so I'm sorry. It's the other way around. No.
10 is really relaxed, right?
No, 1 is chilled out,
Oh.
10 is stressed out.
Okay.
So it's the other way around. I mean, whose number got worse? I mean, who found that they got more stressed? Who stayed the same? And who's feeling more relaxed? Okay. So this is called cats and dogs because we see cats and dogs yawning and stretching all the time, all day long, right? And there's a reason for that, because brain scans show that this actually literally washes stress and tension out of your brain, out of your nervous system, out of your body. So if you do that 1, twice, 3 times an hour, takes less than a minute, all day long, it's like a little, warm bath. But sometimes that's not enough. The stresses can be too persistent or too extreme, and that little reset doesn't work. So at that point, you use the vagus reset, because the vagus is the kind of branch of the nervous system that coordinates the social circuit, the fight or flight circuit, and the freeze circuit. So when that gets triggered, clasp your hands like this, place it behind your head. If you can do it lying down, that's the most sort of potent version, but it works almost as well sitting up. And just keeping your head looking straight ahead, you want to look all the way 30 to 60 seconds, as far as you can in one direction, until there's like a little internal sigh or release or relaxation. And then you look all the way in the other direction for 30 to 60 seconds. until you get that release. And that's how you reset the vagus nerve. And at the end, I'll give you a little handout that will sort of summarize all this stuff. So that's what you can do moment to moment to stay above the line. But that's like putting a Band-Aid on the situation if in the background you're living this crazy life, this gap between kind of our evolutionary nature and the world we live in. So that's where we come up to STUN, stress, trauma, unmet needs, the three branches from the tree before. So this side just looks at where you are in your work environment, because that's the major source of stress in people's lives. So type of work, stressing factors at work. Trauma is looking at childhood events, that children's nervous systems are developing and very delicate, and from the ACEs study we know that traumas are cumulative, and so as they add up, it's not a good picture. This doesn't mean if you've been traumatized you're going to have these issues. It just means there are cracks in your foundation and there's a susceptibility there and you want to be aware of it. And then the last step, unmet needs, is 12 dimensions of our physical, emotional, social, and spiritual health. And it's a way of measuring how present or absent these factors are in your life, because as I said before, we are designed to be resilient. So when these factors are in our lives, we're like a plant in the right place. We can't help but thrive. So that's the big and the small picture of my understanding of resilience. This is obviously a really fast tour through a very big topic. I do some very interesting one-day workshops where we work on this stuff in depth, and if you're curious about that, come talk to me afterwards. And for now, just pass these around. So thank you very much. I've been Andrew. You've been great.